topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, or I should say good morning, because this is our California show, and we want to welcome to you. This is the Ask the Expert show. This is our 16th year of bringing the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. And I want to thank all the people. We've been seeing the numbers for YouTube for this show. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I know there's so many more of you who are listening on radio or iHeart or Spotify. We appreciate you so much. This show for the next 15 minutes is one of our top shows. I knew it would be because we have so many homeowners and business owners. And plus the fact that these guys do such an incredible job. You know, we're going to be talking about public insurance adjusting and dealing with insurance companies after a loss. And let me introduce you to Joseph Hernandez of Crown Adjusting. Good morning. I have to get used to good morning, Joseph, to the Ask the Expert show.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning. Yeah, I guess technically McDonald's still serves breakfast at 11 o'clock, so technically it is good morning.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Anyway, you are in such a big part, an important part of the country in California. And first of all, tell us about your background and about Crown Adjusting.
Well, so Crown Adjusting, we're a licensed public adjusting firm. I'll say we are probably more of a small to medium-sized firm where we take a very hands-on approach to the claims that we take on. We don't farm out any of the work that we do. We all handle it in-house. And I think that allows us to take a very personal approach to how we handle claims, and also allows us to devote the attention necessary to get these claims settled. So really what we're doing is we're advocating very fiercely for our clients, and in pursuit of making sure that we get the most reasonable and highest settlement possible for them in the event of a covered loss to their business or their rental property or their primary dwelling. So we're very much motivated to do a great job, and we take a lot of pride in the work that we do because it isn't an easy job, and not every claim is ever the same, and so it really just is a work of passion that we have with what we do, and we devote ourselves to it entirely.
Joseph, I'm going to share something with the audience. I've actually shared it before. First of all, I want to emphasize that every claim is different. But about 15 years ago, I had a flood at my house, and the insurance company offered me, I believe it was like $15,000. No, actually, no, it was $20,000 they offered me. And I swear to you, Joseph, I was about ready to accept it a friend of mine said, "Are you using a public insurance adjuster?" And I said, "What is that?" In fact, I'm looking in the chat line. Someone just asked us, so we'll get to that. But he convinced me that I might be able to get more money through a public insurance adjuster. Now, again, I want to emphasize everybody's claim is different. But Joseph, my adjuster got me $130,000. I know you're not surprised by that, but I was so mad, first of all, at the insurance company for lowballing me so much, and that I learned how important it had. Don't handle this yourself. Get a public adjuster like Crown Adjusting. But you hear those stories all the time.
Oh, I mean, we hear horror stories of what people are going through, and it's not to make the insurance company out to be the bad guy. Insurance companies have a duty to their board, their shareholders, and whatnot. But I think the problem with it seems like more and more each day, the insurance company starts to put less importance on their customers and more importance on their bottom line, which I understand is important in business. But when you're there to serve your client and your policyholder, and you start denying claims or underpaying, it kind of leaves a real bad taste in people's mouths. Most people that have a large insurance claim, most of them have never had a claim before. And so not only are they overwhelmed with the amount of questions and not knowing what to do, knowing what's right, whether or not the amount they're being offered is justified, they really are just overwhelmed by what's going on. And so sometimes they tend to trust that the insurance company is going to do right by them. It's only until they get an estimate from a trusted contractor that they have where they realize that there's a pretty significant shortfall between what the insurance company is paying versus what their contractor is saying they're going to do the job for. Because at the end of the day, the contractor has to make a decent living. They're not going to do the work without charging their necessary profits and overhead against the job. That is when people typically start to see, wow, maybe my insurance company isn't as great as I thought, or maybe they're not paying as fairly as I thought. And so that's where we come in, and we essentially level the playing field. I always ask people, I said, if your insurance company has their adjuster, why can't you have yours? We're essentially there to be a party of interest in ensuring that you get a benefit and that you will benefit with our involvement, because you don't know what you don't know. And in the world of insurance, knowledge is power. And if you know how to essentially advocate for yourself, the odds are in your favor that you will get a favorable settlement.
I got to tell you, one of the things I love about your business is because of the way you charge, you really have skin in the game. People don't understand you don't get paid unless you make your clients money. They don't have to write a check when they sign up with you.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, there is no upfront payment. We're never asking for a retainer, a down payment, anything up front. What's great about that is we're motivated. Obviously, the more that we get for you, obviously the better for you, but we also benefit from that because we're charging a contingency fee, which is essentially a percentage of whatever that settlement ends up being. So we're really motivated to get you as much as possible. I mean, I've had claims where the cost of construction, we already met the cost of construction, meaning if the cost of construction was $300,000 for an example, and we are charging 10%, let's just say, you're looking at $330,000, and we've gotten the claim up at 350,000. But let's just say we find an opportunity to get another 50K, we're going to do it. Why? Because for two reasons. Number one, why not? I mean, if you're entitled to that and we can substantiate it, we're going to do it. And number two, you may want to use that money to upgrade some finishes that you may, maybe you will have that flooring in the kitchen that you want to upgrade. Keep in mind, the insurance company is only going to pay you for what you had. So if you have linoleum floors and you figure, well, now's the time to put vinyl plank flooring, well, that extra 50,000 is going to go a long way for that. And you're absolutely entitled to do whatever you want with that extra money. The insurance company doesn't care, and they will not penalize you for doing so. So what I'm trying to say is we will work extremely hard, and most public adjusters, not all are created equal, but most of them want to try and get you as much money, even if once the construction is covered, our fee is covered, and there's still room to go up, we will. And that's how we are. We're going to get you as much as possible.
We already have a couple questions in the chat line. You really sort of explained this already, but what is a public adjuster? I just tuned in.
A public adjuster is a licensed individual who actively represents the policyholder in a claim against the insurance company for the benefit of trying to fully take advantage of your policy and trying to get as much of the damages, as much of the damages documented in a way where the insurance company is required to pay the maximum amount. So we act as an advocate, we act as an agent on the insured's behalf, the policyholder, to maximize your claim for the highest settlement possible. We do all of our due diligence, we do all of our estimating, we will meet with the insurance adjuster, all the vendors that they send out, we'll meet with contractors, all of that in the way of trying to secure the highest settlement possible. And we also communicate on our customers' behalf, because the last thing we want is for the insurance adjuster to weasel their way in and try to get the insured to say certain things and certain key phrases that might cause implications, negative implications to your claim. So that's why we always handle all communications and all matters surrounding your claim, all for the benefit of getting you the max settlement possible.
Going to the chat line, can you reopen a claim?
Yes, you can. I have a claim right now with a client where they essentially had it's a water damage claim where the refrigerator water supply line for the ice maker was accidentally bumped open. And so water was dripping out of that supply line for a couple of weeks. It wasn't until later that he discovered that. Long story short, he accidentally reported the claim to his carrier insurance company, and he classified it as mold damage, which is a big no-no in our industry, because most insurance policies either do not cover mold, it is an exclusion, or there's a very small sublimit of coverage for mold. So be very careful if you have that and you're in that situation. Remember, mold is a secondary damage as a result of water damage, and water damage is covered. Needless to say, because he incorrectly classified the loss as mold damage, they paid him $126 and they closed the claim. I was contacted about a month or so later by the client, or I guess my my prospective client, and who was completely enraged, upset, distraught. I don't know what to do. I need help. This is what's going on. And I said, well, we can take this on. We don't normally take claims that are closed, but we'll do our best. So needless to say, we got involved. Within a month of us being involved, not only did we open the claim, but we got them to not only increase it, but open it, but it increased from $125 to $54,000. And our estimate right now for that is breaching $200,000, and we're actively engaging with them on negotiations.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, if that doesn't motivate somebody to get a public adjuster, I don't know what will. So that is just amazing.
That
so
happens
tell us
all
what
the time. That happens all the time.
Tell us what happens after the loss is reported, and where do they go from there?
So when a loss is reported, you're essentially creating a file, a claim number, after which the claim is reported to the claims team, where then more than likely you'll be receiving a phone call from an adjuster. When you have a small loss, the likelihood of getting, well, it kind of works in different, there are so many varieties of how every company operates. But what typically happens is if the company is the insurance company is a smaller insurance company, they'll likely send out an independent adjuster who is essentially a contractor of the insurance company, who does not work for said insurance company, but they're an independent adjuster putting together a scope of work, which is essentially an estimate for the insurance company. So if it's a smaller company, it will likely be someone like that who will be contacting you to set up an inspection date to go through the property, take photos, document damages, essentially take measurements of the floor plan of the area of the home that has been damaged, and then go back to his or her desk, write the estimate, and that estimate gets submitted to the insurance company. It doesn't get submitted to you. And there's reason for that. The reason why it gets submitted to the insurance company is because guess who's looking over their shoulder? The insurance adjuster. Guess who wants to make sure does not give the farm away? And that's essentially is meaning they don't want to give you too much. They want to make sure that they're in line with what is acceptable and what they deem as reasonable. Problem is, what the insurance company deems as reasonable is not always reasonable to you as the policyholder. So then you eventually, after some weeks, you get that estimate. You look at that estimate and you start wondering, how am I going to get this work done for this amount? I can't do this. And so that's essentially the cycle. Most of the time, after someone sees that estimate, we're getting a call because they don't want to deal with it, or we're getting a call when they've gone weeks and weeks and months of going back and forth, haggling with the insurance company, for getting promised, don't worry, we'll take care of you. It's okay. Send me a contractor's bid. Don't worry. We're going to work with you. All to just be met with further resistance and being no further along than they were initially. That's when we'll get a call as well.
Here is, look who's joined us.
Robert.
Smiling. Robert Crown
Hi,
has just
gentlemen.
joined us. Hello, Robert.
The
I was just getting
technology
ready to ask you. We have someone who just wrote in on the chat line. Do you have any experience working with homeowners in the Palisades community?
Perfect timing, Robert. Answer that one.
Yes, we do. We have been very careful about the types of claims we handle. So at the moment, we are handling business in the Palisades. If the property owner is still in the midst of negotiating a settlement, we would have to look at their policy coverage and assess where they're at in the process and how much more money there is available for them to close out their claim. Some of the people that are interested in hiring us are not rebuilding, but they want the money. And so there are opportunities for people in our profession to help them.
So we just had someone who asked us, she said, you're always talking about flooding. What areas, other areas, do you cover it for homeowners? Because I am having a dispute on fire. Do you all cover that?
Well, we handle anything that is insured, uh, but you have to make a distinction between a first party claim and a third party claim. A third party claim would have the person's insurance company trying to recover from the responsible party. We handle a third party to be careful, because if it's something that the other insurance company says they're not going to pay for, we would be doing a lot of work possibly for nothing, because we get paid by the from the insurance settlement, and then a third party claim, we don't have as much standing as the person that's filing the claim. We're working a claim right now that involves the liability carrier for the company that installed the solar panels. We're working directly with Travelers, who insures the house, but they've already said that they're not going to cover the whole thing. So, we're going to put it together as though there's only one insurance company paying, and we'll see what we can do about getting the insurance company that insures the property to pay the whole enchilada, and then they can worry about going against the solar company.
Mm. I'm sure you get people that contact you that they're not sure if they want to file a claim. Do you get those kind of calls?
Yes. And I asked them, what are you paying insurance for? I think people are afraid to file claims because they're worried about getting dropped. And it's not an unreasonable
Yes.
concern. But if it's the difference between getting compensated from your own insurance company or getting dropped, I would worry less about getting dropped and more about getting enough money to fix my house. But I understand where people are coming from. My wife asked, when a tree fell and did a lot of damage to our deck in Northern California, when my wife saw me out there with a saw cutting it up, she said, "What are you doing?" Well, I'm not sure I want to file a claim. When I knew what the deck was going to cost to fix, like $14,000 or $15,000, I decided I was going to file the claim, and I did, and they paid.
Are there claims that are not a good fit for a public adjuster?
Yes. We do hold ourselves out to folks that have damages that are under $100,000, but it takes just as much time and energy handling a claim for $150,000, and it might be the same amount of work for a lot less money if you compare what a public adjuster might be generating in a fee if it was $500,000, just by comparing the compensation. So on claims that are between $100,000 and $200,000, a lot of people get a little antsy when we tell them that we might not handle it for less than 20. And
Looks
Did we
like
lose
we
him?
lost. I think it looks like we lost Robert. See, now this is what happens when you're doing a live show.
That's
These kind
right.
of things sometimes will happen. I think Robert was driving in his car. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I can
you
finish the
guys,
thought. You want me to finish that, or
yes,
you want to ask?
please, yes.
Essentially what Robert was getting at is sometimes it's not very cost effective for us to handle a claim that's not doesn't breach the threshold. The reason that is because it sometimes it takes just as many hours and as an effort, stress and aggravation, sometimes more aggravation to handle a claim that is $100,000, $150,000 than $1 million claim. And the reason that is because a lot of times you're dealing with these adjusters that are trying to, step up, make a name for themselves. Also, they have someone looking over their shoulders, and that someone is as a supervisor or manager who is essentially telling them what to do. And then you have that manager and the supervisor that has a boss over looking over their shoulders. So when we find someone that is absolutely besides themselves and doesn't care what they want us to charge them, we'll handle it, but we make it very clear that we don't ever want to take out more than what we're putting in. What we mean by that, we want to make sure that we're getting you a sufficient amount of value such that that value that we're injecting into your claim is much more than what we're taking out on our fees. And that's really what it comes down to.
Looking over in the chat line, do you ever have to go to court with the insurance companies?
Oh, sure. We're not attorneys. We will never give legal advice to our clients. We will always refer it to counsel. But we are the very first step where you're trying to solve things expeditiously. Obviously, it doesn't always work out that way. And in a matter where you can try and resolve it out of the courtroom. But then there are instances where, people will come to us months later after deciding, after kind of going back and forth. I don't know if I want to hire you guys. I kind of want to see where I go. And 6 months later, we get a call from them to find out that they're in a worse off situation. They've completely run out of their limit for temporary housing. And now at this point, they're desperate and they're saying, I want to hire you guys. And we very politely say, it's a little too late. You're probably better off going to an attorney at this point, because the time to have taken action with a public adjuster was when you initially contacted us. And when you get entrenched into all of the matters and all of the mess and the tangled mess that the insurance company will inevitably put you through, it's too much for us to even take on by that point. So that's when an attorney is more than likely needed. Or when you have coverage disputes, meaning we're not covering this because we feel like this was the fault of the home decaying slowly over time. Therefore, we are denying your claim and we're not covering a single penny. That's a good time to go to an attorney and try and get that coverage overturned.
Am I live?
You're live.
We hear you.
Okay, good.
There we go.
A lot of people call us for help, and we try not to leave them high and dry. And the first thing you won't hear from us is, well, we don't handle anything that doesn't generate a $50,000 to $100,000 fee. We are not those guys. We provide a lot of guidance and direction free of charge, because we're in the relationship building business. But the need for a public adjuster services is so great now that we have to be realistic about just how much time we can devote to folks that are trying to get somewhere with insurance companies that don't want to pay. So So nowadays, we're actually making recommendations to some people about finding an abbreviated way to get more money out of the insurance company. And sometimes we'll recommend an appraiser, which is a different process, which we've talked a little bit about. Or we'll tell them to consider working with a contractor that has done work for their insurance company before. Somebody that's out of their house with a $50,000 water damage claim with 2 small children. It's more important for them to get back home than trying to, I don't know, take advantage of the opportunity cost that comes with, remodeling a bathroom. But we have to evaluate each claim on its own merits.
Do you ever get calls from people who have a claim that their insurance doesn't cover?
One of the things we frequently do is tell those folks, until your claim is covered, there's very little we can do for you other than maybe help you estimate the damage. A claim that is disputed, though some public adjusters will write letters, revisit the kind of damage that exists, and help make a case for the insurance company to reconsider because we may think it's an illegitimate denial. That's asking a lot of us to do that, a lot from us, because we're not attorneys, and it borders on the practice of law. Who am I to say the insurance company is not meeting their contract obligations? I may understand the policy language, but I don't know the case law behind it. We're more than likely to send it to an attorney, and then when they find out that the insurance company has changed their position and now they're going to cover it, then they call us back.
Here's a question in the chat line. Is there a statute of limitations on a closed claim?
There sure is. You have to look at the evolution of what the claim considered, how long the insurance company took to make an offer, and what the policyholder did to challenge that offer. When you say statute of limitations, are we talking about to pay the claim or to file suit against the insurance company for not meeting their contractual obligations? Because it's typically 2 years.
So I think they're talking about a closed claim once the claim has been closed.
You can try to reopen it.
Yes, you can. Joseph told us you can try to reopen it. And are there statutes of how long they have to try to reopen it?
You'd have to get into the weeds and look at who did what and when, because sometimes the claim is never really resolved. And if you argued, or a public adjuster argued, well, you guys paid $200,000 and the owner got busy doing other things. Let's say it was a rental property, because most people they're not going to wait that long to fight with an insurance company if they're looking to get back into their house, especially if they're talking to a public adjuster, because time is it's critical for folks. And we have a client right now that's got an attorney involved, and the insurance company hasn't decided whether they're going to cover it or not. It's already a year.
Oh. They can take that long to decide?
Yep.
Wow.
It's bad news for
tired
the
of
poor
it.
owner. Normally things happen that give the insurance company a reason to hold off on making a decision. And sometimes it's something that happens that we have nothing to do with. They misrepresent themselves. They misrepresent themselves to the insurance company, and the insurance company says, well, we don't think we're wondering whether this policyholder was truthful with us when we asked them about some aspect of the claim.
I know there's some claims that can really get complicated. What is the most, do you think is the most complicated type claim?
Well, that's a kind of a loaded question. Even a claim that's not more than just fixing water damage that happens to affect 2 or 3 rooms can get complicated pretty quickly if it's not handled right. Claims involving mold, claims involving an insurance company's misbehavior because they didn't do what they were supposed to do when they could have made a proactive decision about accepting some aspect of the repair, and because they didn't and called in somebody else to fact check, it took, instead of taking 2 to 3 months to make an offer to the policyholder, it takes 10 months. And you're looking at getting enough money to fix the house while you're also thinking about suing the insurance company for a lot of shenanigans. Joseph just got an insurance company. I'm patting him on the back. He just got an insurance company to reverse their position on whether or not they were going to continue to pay this poor homeowner's rent for the additional 3 to 6 months it's going to take to fix this house.
W for Joseph.
He did a great job. I was, we work collaboratively, and Joseph knows that I am very sympathetic to our clients, and I don't want to imagine what it must be like for someone who, whether they have young children or they're enjoying their retirement, having to deal with an insurance company, and either they're pulling a lot of funny business at our expense or the consumer's expense. It doesn't get resolved. Those claims are claims that keep me up at night.
Yeah, that was a lot of it. Really is what was mind-boggling to me when I first got into this industry. We make a lot of presumptions that the insurance company is going to do right by their client, by their customer, and you think that means that when they're suffering a loss and when they're having to pay to live outside of their home, that the insurance adjuster is going to be there diligently paying on time every month for their rent. Needless to say, you have situations where the poor client, who's our client, who's been out of their home going on almost a year, the insurance company just stopped paying their rent for the past 6 months, and we were just notified about that by the client, because normally it's something that they should just keep doing like clockwork. And if it weren't for us bringing that and holding them accountable, they would have still relied on our client to continue to pay that out of their own pocket. So it's things like that that really puts it into perspective, that these adjusters are not looking, or most of them are not really there looking out for you for your best interest. Not all of them are the same. There are good and bad of everything. There are good and bad PAs, but what we've noticed is that these adjusters are not there doing you a favor. You have to advocate for yourself. And if you're not prepared to do that, well, then that's why there are public adjusters that do it for you. And so if you are there assuming that the insurance company is going to do right, you're very sorely mistaken, because we have 101 reasons to prove that is not the case. So, you just kind of have to look out for yourself always, and you have to know what your rights are. Just like in this day and age, the better that you know your rights, the more that you understand it, the better you can be prepared so that you're not taken advantage of and having to deal with an adjuster that is just going to leave you high and dry.
Going back to the chat line, can you add mold to your homeowner's policy?
No, most mold endorsements, there is no such thing as a mold endorsement. You either have it as a sublimit or you don't, meaning the insurance company either has coverage for it or they don't have coverage for it. And the reason why most mold is excluded in most policies is because mold is one of those things that there's a lot of gray area on. There's naturally occurring mold in almost every household. Not all of it is harmful, some of it is. And mold can happen so easily. Mold can form within 48 hours if you give it the perfect condition. And so insurance companies have had a lot of claims for mold over the years to the point where they've gotten wise and they've been advised to stop offering mold coverage or limit it. And so to that question, no, unfortunately, you cannot add mold endorsement to your policy, which is why if you ever have a situation where you have water or moisture coming into your home, you have to take care of it right away. And some people will do the wrong thing and they'll wait for the insurance company to act and tell them what to do. And unfortunately, when you do that, you leave yourself susceptible to mold. And when it gets to that point, then the insurance company is fully aware of that, and then they will essentially deny that part of your claim. So be very careful and be very vigilant when you have moisture and water damage to take care of it immediately.
Joseph, are you surprised the amount of people who don't know everything that's in their homeowner policy? Does that surprise you at all?
Not at all. I'm not surprised by that at all. In fact, I'll let you in on a secret. I before before I pivoted into this career a little over 4 years ago, I didn't even know it was in my homeowner's insurance policy. And because what's so interesting about reading 40, 50, 60 pages of something, especially when we have insurance, we're given this sense of security that we're covered. I'm paying, I'm covered. Not necessarily. And so to that question, I'm not surprised. But in this day and age, with the environment that we're in, the climate that we're in, it's more important than ever to know what your policy states. I always tell people, if you want to know about your insurance policy, there's two things you should do. Look at your declarations page and read your policy, your full policy, your 60 to 100 pages. Start reading it from the back, because most of that, the good stuff in that policy is in the back part. They do that intentionally. So that's what you want to do. And, consult someone. And most importantly, talk to your broker, to your insurance agent. You're paying them every single year like clockwork. They should be doing their part in explaining your policy to you, as well as never assume just because you had coverage for something this year, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to have it next year. So don't assume that you're going to have that same coverage or the same coverage limits. So what is the moral of this story is put your agent to work. They make money every year on your renewal. Don't let them just make money without actually getting them to advise you on the policy and say, hey, what is different about this policy versus the one from last year? Any differences? Anything I should be concerned about? Can you tell me some of the highlights of my policy? What are the exclusions of my policy? What are my sublimits? Do I have mold coverage? Do I have any coverages that I should be concerned about not having? These are things that your agent should be answering and telling you, because they're getting paid to do a job and they should do it.
This will be the last question. It's in the chat. What is the difference in hiring a lawyer versus a public adjuster?
Take it away, Robert.
At the risk of either not being seen as complimentary or trying to make a joke, lawyers are people that sometimes make something out of nothing, and public adjusters are dealing with something that is real and measurable and quantifiable. And you're using a lawyer to get an insurance company to change their behavior. You're using a public adjuster to advance your claim when it's legitimate. But lawyers also can handle property insurance claims if they have experience and understand some of the issues that come into play when determining whether something is covered under an insurance policy. Understanding the contractual language is important, whether you're a lawyer or a public adjuster.
Also, a big difference too is that the attorneys or lawyers sometimes will charge a much larger percentage than what a public adjuster will charge. And also, in most cases, an attorney will reach out to us to get our expert opinion. And so you might as well, not to say that a lawyer would ever act as a middleman, but there are some cases where you're better off just going to that professional who can essentially get your claim from A to B without having to worry about involving someone else who we would probably get involved with either way. We are experts in some litigation cases against insurance companies because some of these attorneys lack the industry expertise because maybe they're more positioned as experts in other fields. And so that kind of goes to prove that, you're better off hiring a public adjuster when you have a claim that is covered and you want someone to interface on your behalf and get in there and make the most efficient use of time to try and get you the maximum settlement.
Well, I got to tell you, your show, even though it's 50 minutes long, goes by so fast. We were supposed to have a guest today. I hope you'll bring them back next month.
Do we know what happened?
Yeah, he was unable to make it. He had some itinerary changes that unfortunately didn't allow him to join today.
Okay, well, maybe next month.
And here's a great way to end the show. We got in the chat. I really enjoy your podcast. It's one of the few I listened to the entire show. Congrats. That's a nice compliment. Tell us how people can reach you.
The company again is Crown Adjusting. We have a website at crownadjusting.com. Joseph, I think your number is scrolling below, 925-361-2994. You can find us via email. I'm Robert at crownadjusting.com, and my number is 415-999-5519. There's no obligation to run your situation by us, and we will try to help you and point you in the right direction.
Guys, have a wonderful holiday. I guess now we can say we'll see you next year, and they will be back again. And hey, if you missed any part of the show, you can go to iHeart or YouTube or Spotify to listen or watch the show. Guys, we'll see you next month.
Thank you. Happy healthy New Year to you, Stephen, to you and yours.
Yes, happy holidays, happy New Year,
guys.
Thank you very much.
That's Crown Adjusting. They are so good. If you're in it, basically any part of the western part of the United States, they can handle your claim. That's going to do it for us today. We'll see you next week with more Ask the Experts, and happy holidays to our great producer, Juan.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.